All right, welcome back. This is lesson number 2. So the first lesson was how to set up a React project with Create React App. There were two options. You can either set it up in REPL for your IDE or Visual Studio Code. From now on, we'll be using REPL just because some people don't have, you know, access to Visual Studio Code on their machine. So anyway, here's the plan for today. We're going to clean the project of extra files. We're going to use React Router DOM to add links to different components. We're going to add some components, and then we're going to organize our folders and import the components from those folders. So let's go ahead and open up our REPL. Okay, now that it's ready to go, the first thing that we're going to do is we're going to run yarn. Let's see it clear. We're going to run yarn add react router DOM. And this is going to install the React Router DOM package and put it in our project. If you are using npm as your package manager, then use npm install React Router DOM. This is from their official docs. I'll put a link to this in the description of the video. And we'll wait for the package to load here. While we're waiting, we're going to get rid of extra files that we're not going to use in our source folder. So we can get rid of this SVG, that's the React logo. We're also going to get rid of index.css. We don't need that because we already have an app.css. We can put all our CSS in there. And we'll go ahead and delete the test files for this project. We won't need them. You may need them in the future. And then in our CSS, I'm going to go ahead and delete everything in here. And then in app.js, we're going to delete everything inside the app. And we're just going to have what's called a React fragment, which looks like this. It's a tag without a name, basically. And then we'll just have an h1 for now that says app. And we'll change this in a little bit. We'll also delete the import logo from logo SVG since that doesn't exist anymore. And in our index.js, we'll delete the import index.css because that also does not exist anymore. All right, so now that our package is installed, React Router DOM, we're going to go ahead and hit run to start our application. And we'll wait for that for a minute. I'm going to pause the recording again. All right, and our development server has started, and we have our H1 with app there on the screen. Okay, so we're going to create a couple components and then use the React router to route to each of them. So let's go ahead and create a few what are called stateless components. And you can do this by writing a function that returns some HTML. We're going to write the function with a function expression, which you'll remember from our JavaScript lesson last week, hopefully, those of you who were in my class. So we're going to write const, and it's auto-saving, so it doesn't work yet, obviously. So we're going to write const, and then we'll just have a page1 component with the arrow function. And if we do parentheses, it's going to implicitly return all the stuff in there. And so we'll have a React fragment here. And then it's just going to say h1 page 1. And now we can use this component in our app function here by just typing it in like this, page 1. And there we go. You know, it kind of looks like an image tag or tags without closing tags. These are called singleton tags sometimes when you have the little slash at the end of the tag and you don't have like a closing tag. Okay, so there's our page 1. We're going to make a page 2 as well. It's going to be mostly the same, so we can go ahead and copy this and then say page 2. Okay. So up here at the top, we're going to import a couple things from React Router DOM. We're going to import, do curly braces, to unpack some of the modules. We'll do browser, if I can spell, browser router, and then also route and link from React router DOM. So that's all one line on line 2. And then what we're going to do here in our app, you'll notice some warnings popped up because we haven't used them yet. We're going to replace the fragment with browser router. And then we're going to have a route. And a route is going to, when we go to a different path in our website, so the path for this one, we're going to do exact path. It's going to be the index page. It's going to go to page 1. We only need to put exact on the index page. That's so when we go to any other page, it doesn't accidentally load page 1. Okay? And then when we do route path 2, then we're going to go to page 2. Okay, so if I type that in the little URL here, I'll have to open it in a new tab to do that. See that we load page 2. Sweet. So we're going to need to add a navigation so we can go back and forth from page 1 to page 2. So we can do that by making another component. We'll call it const nav. And then we'll make a nav tag. And inside the nav tag is going to be some of these link components from our React Router DOM. First link is going to be to the index. And this link will eventually render as an A tag, and this will eventually go into an href. This is just a nice way to do it in React. And then this is going to say page 1 for the link, and then we'll copy and paste, and then the other route is going to be to page 2. Now in each of our components here, we can use this nav component. And then we should be able to click on page 1 and page 2 and go back and forth between them. Sweet. Let's go ahead and add a little CSS just to clean it up a little bit. So we're going to make our A tags have a little bit of padding. We'll say 10 pixels. And then we have, yeah, and that'll do for now. And you can add whatever styling you want, but later we're going to add some component libraries. They're kind of akin to Bootstrap. We've used Bootstrap before, or Skeleton, or other CSS frameworks. So you don't have to add too much CSS since we're going to be replacing it anyway and then customizing on top of the framework. So let's go ahead and reorganize our code here a little bit so that it's a little more maintainable. I mean, we could write all of our code in app.js, but it can get really yucky really fast, obviously, if we have way too many components in here. So we're going to go ahead in our source folder, and we're going to add a folder called components. And then we're going to also add a folder called pages. Now this is just one way to structure your files in a React app. I like it because it's simple and obvious where things are. So components are things that you reuse across pages. So in that case, in components, we're going to add a nav.js file. And each component is going to be capitalized. That's the generally accepted practice for that. So we're going to go ahead and copy this const nav. Well, actually cut this const nav component and put it in our new nav.js. First, we have to import React from React so that the component will work. And then down at the bottom, we're going to have to export the component, export default nav. And then over here in our app.js, we can import, we'll just do it down here, import nav from components / nav. Okay, looks like we're getting an error. It says link is not defined. That means we have to, delete it from this one and import it in nav.js. So import link from React router DOM. There we go. And our page still works. We just reorganized our code a little bit of refactoring. Okay, now for pages, we're going to have a page1.js, and we can do .jsx. JSX is the React language that allows us to mix HTML and JavaScript together. But if you do .js, it doesn't matter. So now we're going to go back to app.js, copy our page1, paste it in here, and then remember we have to import React from React. This is all case sensitive, by the way. Export default page 1. And then in app.js, we're going to import page 1 from components page 1. Oh, it's in pages. Whoops. Pages, page 1. Okay, and then in page 1, it says nav is not defined. So we got to copy this and import it in our page 1 thing. We have to go up a folder with ... so that we properly import it. Looks like our code works. Let's go ahead and put both of our pages in this one file so I can show you the other way to export. When you do export default, importing is done like this, where you just type the name of the thing you exported and then the file name from where it is. But if you export you can export multiple things from a JavaScript file. So we're going to change our file name to homepages.js, and we're going to put both of our pages in here. So we'll take this const page2, cut, and paste it in this homepages.js. And now instead of export default, we're going to export an object with page 1 and page 2. Then when we import in here, we're going to import just like we exported it, page 1, page 2. And make sure we change the file path here, home pages. There we go. So it works. So that's why you see, sometimes you'll see the curly braces and then imported files. If they've been exported together in an object, that's how you import them. If they're exported default, which is how React is and how we did our nav, then you don't do the curly braces. So that's a little example of how to do multiple pages with React Router DOM. And you can see that it works over here in our browser and that the routing is nice and pretty. So hopefully that helps you get your project going. There we go. We're going to stop there.